So I arranged one of my favorite Christmas carols, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, for a three-part guitar trio or ensemble in three parts. And I want to take a look at the score real quick and show you what's going on. So what you just listened to was the full arrangement, all three parts playing together. And as you can see from this first page of the score here, you can see all three parts, guitar 1 on the top part, guitar 2 in the middle part, and the low part, guitar 3, playing the bass part. So those are three different lines, um, all on one system of music is what you call that. So, we turn the page and we can see that, the first two parts didn't play for the first four measures or so. It was just the first part, and then the other parts came in and filled out the sound. Um, Listen to the piece again and follow along in the score, and this time be aware, and feel free to look through the parts and see which part's doing, and maybe start thinking about what part you want to learn. So now that you've got a second listen, I just want to briefly talk about, just what all the parts are. So, the top part carries the melody of the song for the first half of the song. Um, and then it goes along and plays an accompaniment part along with the second part. Um, the first part typically plays on the highest three strings of the guitar, plays the high notes. So the second part, while it doesn't carry the melody, it actually kind of carries the bulk of what gives the harmony its color and flavor. It really helps fill out the arrangement. Without that second part, you really wouldn't have much of a piece of music. It fills in all the holes. It's like the glue that holds it together. And then the low part, the bass part, plays kind of long bass notes to accompany the melody for the first half. And then in the second half of the piece, I actually gave the bass part the melody. So that's an interesting thing there. So think about which one you want to play, and I'm going to introduce and play each part one at a time for you, and then kind of give you some helpful tips how to learn each one of those three parts. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. was the first part. The first thing that you may have noticed was the count off. So what I did there is I counted off two full measures to help you know when to come in. That's real important. That way everybody can come in at the same time when you start a group or an ensemble. That's one of the most difficult things about playing together. Uh, it's easier because you don't have to play as many notes at the same time for yourself because everybody else plays those notes. But the hard part is you have to play them at the same time. And to do that, you have to have a good count off and you have to keep time. So the other thing you noticed was that clicking sound. What that is the beat subdivided into two parts called an eighth note. So the click, 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 click is essentially 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it runs to the duration of the example to help you stay in time. Okay, so another thing I want you to notice about the way this started was what beat it started on. Notice, even though we have 4 beats in the measure, this song starts on what you call a pickup note. So it started on beat 4. So it actually kind of starts like on the 0 measure instead of the first measure, you could say. Starts before the first measure. Starts on beat 4, so you hear that 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then it starts. So it starts on a pickup measure, and that count off is to help you really lock into that beat 4. So the first part is lucky, and the fact that it gets to start at the beginning and doesn't have to count rest. The other two parts that we'll see, one of the hardest parts about those is learning to count the rest. So you come in when you're supposed to come in at the beginning. So let's look at the second part now.
1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So one of the hardest things about the second part is that you really have to trust your eyes and not as much your ears. The part on its own doesn't make much sense unless it's played with the other parts. But once you put it with the other parts, it's like the perfect ingredient. It carries all the weight and pulls everything together. So the hard thing too at the beginning is counting all the rest. So if you look at that first page, we have to count all those rests. One helpful thing is when you hear that click or the metronome, you'll notice there's a louder click that happens on the beat 1 of every measure. So it's like tick, 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 or in other words, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And if you can keep track of that, it'll really help you get your spot. You can basically look at the bar line and know, okay, well, right after that bar line is beat one. And right before you come in, you'll see that what you call a dotted half rest, which is 3 beats of rest. So you get to that measure, you hear beat one. Basically, you just have to wait and play on beat four, and then you can start playing. It'll come right in. Um, the other thing that makes this part difficult is you have to play some on the bass strings and some on the treble strings. I think you have to play over 5 different strings, which makes it one of the more technically hard parts to get around. So the second part is probably for a better player, believe it or not. Okay, so let's look at the low part, the bass part.
1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So there's the low part. At the beginning, it plays kind of longer notes with the second part, and then the last half you actually play the melody on the low strings. So when you get to that last half, you really want to play strong and bring out that melody in the bottom part. It can be harder to hear the lower notes if you don't bring them out and play a little more aggressively. But the part I feel like overall is not as hard as the second part. But it's still a pretty good part, so you get to practice on it and get it right all the same. So now it's time to record your part. So if you haven't worked your part up yet, go back and pick your part. Also look at the description in the video, and you can find a link to download just the first or the second or the third part. That way you can print it off or keep it open in your desktop and read it while you're playing along. And what you want to do now is you want to use this next track to play along with the song and record it with some headphones. So it'll count you off just like your part did earlier. But when you play along with it with the headphones, I won't hear the rest of the parts when you send it to me, but it'll still be lined up with everybody else's part if you play right in time. So that's the trick, is to record your part, wear a pair of headphones, do it as many times as you want until it's as good as you can possibly make it, and send it to me, and I'll put them all together in one big guitar collage, and we can send it off like a big Christmas card to all your friends and family. All right, so put on your headphones when you're ready and play along with this one, and send it to me when you get the best take you can.
1, 3, 1, 2, 3.